Alrighty, so now that we're here on our mats, if you're not already laying down, go ahead and make your way down to your backs. And let's take a nice big stretch here. Just lengthen on your mat, point your toes and reach your arms overhead. And try to just extend and reach and lengthen, take up some space. And take a nice deep inhale. Come to the top of that inhale. Maybe just pause and kind of hold that breath. And then slowly let that breath out. Just like a balloon deflating. And let your body just soften. And if you want to just kind of reach your arms out to the sides, you can do that. And let your feet just kind of fall open, maybe to the sides just a little bit. So softening those thigh muscles. Taking a couple of deep belly breaths. We're going to do a series of stretches here on our back. And if you want to stay here, just breathing and being still for a little bit longer, you can. You can join us at any point in time. Nothing that we're going to start out with is terribly exciting. So join in whenever you're ready. So walk your arms over above your head to the right, and then your legs, kind of just walk them over to the right as well, creating this banana shape. So really getting into the side waist. You can take that left ankle and cross it on top of the right ankle. If you want even a little bit more stretch, you can take your right hand to your left wrist. Let's give it a gentle tug. Try to keep your shoulder blades down to the mat. And we take a couple breaths here. And then very slowly, we're going to release that side, take everything to the middle, and slowly walk everything over to the left. And the right leg crosses over the left, and the left hand can grab a hold of maybe the right wrist. So a couple of things are going on here. Of course, you're getting that nice stretch into the right side body, but you're also just gently activating the muscles on the left side of the body. So those muscles are shortening a little bit, especially as you kind of tug with that left arm. Shortening that side waist on the left side, lengthening the side waist on the right. And then slowly release, walk everything back to the center. And then just take your right knee up into your chest and your hands to the top of your shin. You can just kind of rest here, just kind of holding that knee into your chest, getting that nice knee bend. And then warming up the hip, you can take that knee around in a couple of circles. Maybe switching directions. Perfect. And let's do a half happy baby. So you're going to squeeze that knee down towards your chest, let that heel rise up towards the ceiling, and then that right hand reaches to the outside edge of the same foot, that right foot. Lengthen through your straight left leg and just kind of keep drawing this knee down towards your armpit, towards the mat. Lengthen through the crown of the head here. Try to unscrunch the shoulders. Let the shoulders kind of roll back down to the mat. And then gently go ahead and release that leg. And you can draw it out nice and long on your mat and squeeze your left knee into your chest. Give it a little hug. So notice as you hug that knee into your chest, you're getting that stretch across the back side of that left hip. So it's actually starting to get into part of the hamstring muscle. And then go ahead and circle the knee around, opening up that hip. Just gentle circles. You can make those as big as you want. And then switching directions. This is actually so important because it kind of helps stimulate the joints. And we have something called proprioceptors in all of our joints, and that just kind of lets us know where our joint is in space, so that when we're in our yoga poses and we don't have eyes behind our head, we kind of start to learn where our body is. So coming into this half happy baby on the other side, fingertips to the outer edge, the left foot. I also love this particular happy baby at the beginning of class because you get a little stretch into the foot as well. Drawing the knee down towards the mat, towards the armpit, activating the straight leg to reach in the opposite direction. And then go ahead and release. Take both legs nice and long. And let's take the arms overhead. Take another stretch here, kind of getting into the core muscles. And then we will bend the knees, bridge up, and just lift the hips and see if you can keep those thighs parallel. Feet right underneath the knees. So right away, we're starting to kind of load the ankle joints, engage the core muscles, and then slowly lower. So lower one vertebrae at a time. A lot of times when we do this particular bridge, the whole body just lifts. And I want us to curl the tailbone up, lift up just one vertebrae up. So you're just like you're peeling up off of the mat. Lift the hips and then slowly lower. And again, just rolling down one vertebrae at a time. Think of this almost like your reverse cat and cow. So we actually want to kind of warm up that spine a little bit. So it's not just a hip exercise. We're not just using the glute muscles to bounce the hips up and down. We're trying to use that spine mobility. If you want to take your arms down along your sides and start to walk your shoulder blades underneath you, you can come into a fuller expression of bridge pose. Interlacing your fingers, lifting the hips up. And be sure to keep those legs parallel to each other. It's kind of common for those knees to kind of splay open a little bit. So you want to kind of engage these medial glute muscles to keep those legs and knees in alignment. And then we're going to release the hands, slowly lower down. Perfect. And all right, this time we'll bridge up and we'll set that block right underneath our sacrum. And then just for fun, reach behind that low back. So make sure the block is not in that low back arch, that lumbar area. If it is, just bring it a little closer to your feet. And then you can open the palms up towards the sky and just ungrip all the muscles and the glutes and the legs. Be really heavy here. Take a couple of breaths. And you can begin to walk the feet in towards each other. And slowly drop those knees open or bound angle. This hip opening. Just trying to let go here and just letting gravity open those hips. And then very slowly draw the knees together. And we're going to take one heel up at a time towards the ceiling and then start to lengthen through the heels. And again, you're just letting that sacrum rest on the block and you're drawing your toes down towards you. So notice here that you should have about an L shape at the hips. And this, we repeat this pose in yoga so many different ways, so many different orientations. So this is the same as our Dandasana seated pose. And this is also the same as our half lift when we're doing a sun breath. It's also about the same hip angle that we have when we're in down dog. We're just kind of again in an upside down V. And we'll maybe take some little circles here, or you can point and flex your ankles, just kind of add a little bit of movement. This just is beginning a little bit of a gentle inversion pose. Sometimes it's nice to kind of bring yourself into an inversion pose before those deep forward folds and down dogs. It's kind of bringing a little bit more blood to the brain. Perfect. All right, now begin to hug the knees into the chest. Keep that block right underneath the sacrum. And just notice that extra, almost that extra tucking of the tailbone so that we're getting that nice flexion of the spine. So a lot of times when we're in child's pose, this is like an upside down child's pose, we get most of the flexion in our spine by bringing the forehead down to the mat, but we also want to just get that tucking of the tailbone. So kind of get this sensation here of the roundness of that low back. Do a couple of back bend type poses today, and so we want to use this as a counter pose to those back bends. So whether we're upside down like this or we're in child's pose, you want to get that sensation. of rounding the spine. Squeezing the knees to your chest, maybe just a little bit more. Perfect. All right. You can take the feet down to the mat, slowly bridge up. We'll remove the block. And again, hug your knees into your chest. So notice here that different sensation that your spine feels nice and long. So I want you to really hug those knees into your chest. See if you can draw the core in. You can even bring your forehead up to your knees, but really try to hug those knees in and tuck the tailbone under, almost as if it was still on top of the edge of that block. And then very slowly, we'll just start to roll like a ball. And notice how you're engaging your core, you're tucking your chin to your chest. And then we're going to come all the way up to a boat pose. Reach the arms out, straighten the legs if you'd like. Just breathe here. Engaging the core. Good work. All right, slowly with control, bring the feet down to the mat. Lift up as high as you can using the core muscles. Drop the knees open and we'll fold forward. So don't worry about how far you fold here. Just kind of hang out in this forward fold, getting this lovely hip opening again. Breathing. And then very carefully start to walk yourself up to seated. All right. Let's just take our right leg out in front of us and flex that ankle. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Exhale, hinge and fold forward. This pose is called Janu Shirshasana in Indian Sanskrit. It is called nose to knee pose for the English translation, but you want to lengthen through the crown of the head, lengthen through the heel. Don't worry about if your nose is coming all the way to your knee or not. Just kind of waking up the hamstrings. If you feel this too much in your back, please come up a little bit higher. We don't want to round our back in this particular pose. We're very slowly, we're going to start to revolve in this pose. So wherever you are, the same hand that, the same side that your leg is straight. So your right hand, just maybe reach towards the foot for a moment, and then reach it underneath your left arm. And then you're starting to revolve open. So you're threading this right arm underneath so that your right shoulder starts to come close to your right knee. And then you can pick up that left arm. Maybe your right arm even reaches over towards that left knee. The lower arm reaching for that lower left knee to help you spin open. Notice where you feel this at. You can bend that top arm and you can just drape your arm back behind your back, but you're going to kind of feel this all in the back flank of your left side. Maybe a few other places as well. And then slowly lifting up. Perfect. And we'll just take a nice little counter twist to the right. Perfect. All right, exhale, release. We'll switch our legs out. And inhale, take the arms up overhead. So lengthening the torso here. Get some room in the torso. Exhale, hinge and fold forward. This particular pose, you know, everyone's trying to fold forward. And I want us to try to stay in kind of our own head, in our own space. Don't worry about looking at the screen to see how far anyone else is folding. Just kind of feel this in your own body. There's a lot of different sensations going on. Of course, the hamstrings, the open hip. Maybe you're feeling this in the back. So just kind of come up a little higher if that's the case. And then you're going to reach that left arm towards the foot, and then underneath the right arm, drawing the left shoulder down towards your knee. You can walk that hand over to your right knee and then just twist open. Revolving open in our Janu Shirshasana pose. Trying to stack the shoulders here. And if you want, you can take that right arm up. You can bind it behind your back. So getting all this great stretch in this kind of this back right flank. And next inhale, go ahead and come on up. And then release your twist, take your counter twist to the left. Perfect. All right, exhale, take both heels out in front of you, and we're going to bring our hands alongside our hips. So this is that same orientation as we were with the legs on the block, or the hips on the block, that L shape, Dandasana pose. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead. And on your exhale, hinge and fold forward. Intense west facing stretch. So you will feel this on the back side of your body, from the hamstrings to the hips to the back. Maybe allow the neck to soften. If you do reach your feet, maybe slide your hands down towards the heels so that you can actively draw the toes towards you. Take a couple of breaths here. So on that inhale, you're actually kind of lengthening through the crown of the head, and on that exhale, you might be just hinging and folding a little bit deeper. All right, very slowly, we're going to walk ourselves back up. Perfect. And let's take the right knee up into our chest. And maybe, you know, give it a little squeeze, maybe a little rock and roll. It's almost like what we did with the knee circles when we were on our backs. And then take that right foot, cross it over the left knee. And then inhale, take your left arm up overhead and twist to your right. So as you twist, you're trying to stay really tall through your torso and really light in those right fingertips. Start to look over your right shoulder. You know, it's so tempting to just lean back on this right arm, but we're using our core muscles to sit up nice and tall. And let's take another breath here, full inhale. And then exhale, twist a little deeper. Maybe walk those fingertips back a little farther behind you. And exhale, release. Take both legs out in front of you, and we'll hug the left knee into your chest. Maybe a few little circles, the hip. And then set that left foot over that right knee. Inhale, the right arm reaches up. So you're getting the same L shape before you twist to your left. Squeeze the legs to the midline so that you can really plant that foot. Fingertips are light. Look over that left shoulder. Stay nice and tall on your torso. Feel this twist from about the navel on up. So the sitting bones are both grounded to the mat. Take an inhale to lengthen through the crown of the head. Exhale, twist a little bit deeper. And slowly coming back to the front. Let's go ahead and take the feet and knees back behind us. We're going to come to hands and knees, about the middle of our mats. Tabletop position here. We'll couple cat and cow. So you guys all know the routine here. We're just going to begin to breathe. Ideally, as you inhale, you're going to lift the heart and the chest, fill up with breath. And then on your exhale, draw the navel to the spine, cat pose. And inhale, lift, kind of lifting the tailbone, lifting the heart space, letting the belly soften. Exhale, round. Push the ground away with the hands, maybe get a little bit more stretch between the shoulder blades. Just continue to move with your breath. Notice the back is a little bit more freer than when we were trying to mobilize the back when we were in our bridge pose. All right, take your knees all the way together and slowly sit your hips down towards your heels. So what we want to do here is try to get that tucking of the tailbone that we had when we were in that upside down version of child's pose. So then take an inhale to lengthen, and then slowly exhale, round down to the mat, curling up into a little ball. And you should really feel this stretch just from the tailbone all the way along the spine to the back of the neck. Keep rooting the hips towards your heels. All right, next inhale. Come on up to hands and knees, and then we're going to make our way up to tall kneeling. So if you need to double up your mat to get a little more padding under the knees, feel free to do that. Or if you have a blanket, we're going to take that block and we're going to set it just maybe on the outside edge of the right wrist. You can tuck the toes under. We're going to start with just a very gentle camel pose so that the hands go to your back and your elbows draw towards each other. Take a nice deep inhale here. Lift the heart, lift the chest, and try to press the hips forward. Don't just lean back. We don't want to just crunch that low back. So this is our little back bend here, and then exhale. Let's just curl on into a little ball again, just like we were in our child's pose. So notice this is a counter stretch for our back. Maybe this sensation in the back feels a little bit different now after having done one back bend. And then very slowly, we're going to make our way up back to tall kneeling. I'm not sure why I moved the block, but it should be on the outside edge of that right foot. All right, so walk the hands up the back, squeeze the elbows together. Inhale, lift the heart and the chest, press the hips forward. And then just slowly take your gaze over your right shoulder. And then maybe the hand or the fingertips down to the block. Now, if you can come deeper into this pose and bring your hand to the top of your heel, then do that. But be careful that you're not just leaning back. Keep the hips pressing forward and the chest lifting, and that left arm can go up. Breathe here, half camel pose. And then exhale, you're tucking your chin to your chest, rooting your hips back to your heels, curling up into a little ball. Maybe the hands straight back towards the feet. Just notice what you feel in your back. If your back's not spasming too much, then we have another side to do. Inhale, come on up. You can move that block over to the left heel. Tall kneeling, fingertips to the back. Lift the heart, press the hips forward. Start to come into your back bend first so that the sides are nice and equal. And then start to slowly look over your left shoulder. Hands can come to the top of the block, or they can come to your heel. And eventually you can reach that right arm up, maybe. Half camel on the other side. And slowly tuck the chin to the chest. Anchor the hips back towards your heels. Fold forward, child's pose. Couple breaths here. Alrighty. Let's bring that block out in front of us. So if you doubled up your mat, we can go ahead and lengthen that mat out. Bring your block in front of you. Come to hands and knees. And we're gonna come up to a yogi squat or a malasana pose. So what this means is we're gonna take the right foot, the toes, right behind this right wrist, but angle the foot so that the foot is pointing outwards. Press into the hands and the foot. You can tuck the left toes under, step that foot forward, lower the hips as much as possible. Now the purpose of the block here is kind of fun. You can set it below your bum here to kind of hang out, and you can use whatever height works for you. So you can come all the way up here like a little camp stool if you want. Try to lift your heart and your chest. You might not be putting full weight onto that block, but engaging your core here just a little bit. And then slowly fold forward, hands come to the mat. Root the hips up, start to parallel your feet. You can walk those feet in just a little bit to where they're parallel. Set the block off to the side of the mat. Inhale, come on up halfway. Again, this is that third position of that 90 degrees that we had our hips. Exhale, hinge and fold. Slight bend to the knees. Inhale, root to rise. Come all the way up to standing. And exhale, hands to the heart space. So super slow start to our day today. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead. Take a hold of your right wrist with your left hand. Side bend over. So I'm side bending to my left and kind of tugging on this right side. This should feel similar to our very first stretch when we were laying on our back. So maybe take it a little bit further. Really getting into that side waist. Inhale, come on up. Switch your grip. Side bend to the other direction. And inhale, coming up. All right, exhale, come on down. We're going to do one thing for our shoulders before we start flowing here. So take your legs wide. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Inhale, come into that little back bend. Press your hips forward, drop the head back. And then on your exhale, hinge and fold forward. Let the head drop. Hinging at the hips. Getting that great shoulder stretch. Couple breaths here in your nice deep forward fold. Maybe ungrip your toes. Maybe you give yourself a little slight knee bends. And then we're going to inhale, come on up. Go ahead and shake that out if you need to. And we'll walk to the front of the mats if you're not there already. We're just going to kind of move through a nice little vinyasa here. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. Nice full breath. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come on up halfway, lengthening the spine. Exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands. Come into our first plank pose. So notice the strength in your shoulders and the alignment, shoulders, elbows, wrists. If you want, you can dip those knees down, slowly lower. Go as slow as you can using that core strength. Maybe just hover maybe an inch over the mat. Maybe come all the way down to the belly and peel up to your cobra. So using those back muscles, you should be able to float those hands up. Exhale, tuck the toes, make your way to down dog. Couple breaths here in your down dog. This is our first down dog of the class, so if you'd like to take your dog for a walk, Crosby, you can get a walk in now. Bending one knee, straightening the other. And then we're going to take that right leg up high to the sky, three-legged dog. Step that right foot forward. We're going to find a high lunge. So start to root up through the feet. Ideally, those legs are in two track lines. Bend the right elbow, drop the right hand to your back. Take your left hand, circle it around, and see if you can start to reach the fingertips towards each other. You don't have to clasp the fingers, but if you can, great. And perhaps maybe gaze up, a little bit of a back bend. You should be warmed up for that. And exhale, release the hands, take them down to the mat. Step back, plank, lower, chaturanga. And on your inhale, either cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Couple breaths here in our down dog. Maybe a slight bend to the knees, root the hips back. Try to get the weight out of the wrists and the shoulders. Sometimes you have to look up at your hands and walk your hands forward just a smidgen. And take your left hand, or left leg, excuse me, up to the sky, three-legged dog. Step it forward. Come as close as you can to that left hand. Root up, high lunge. This time, bending the left elbow, hand comes behind you, right arm wraps around. Maybe the hands clasp, maybe they don't worry about it. Sometimes you can just get a hold of your clothes. Inhale, look up, a little slight back bend here. And then release the hands, take them down to the mat, step back plank, lower chaturanga. Inhale, peel up cobra. And exhale, down dog. Couple breaths in your down dog. Smoothing the breath out. Lengthening the spine. And step your feet forward. Come on up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, root to rise all the way up. Hands top of the mountain, they come together. Exhale, hands to the heart space. So we'll just pause here in our Anjali Mudra while I get my breath. And then we're going to go through a little vinyasa with an option for an arm bind. Inhale, reach up. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come on up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands, send those legs back to plank. When you're ready, lowering chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Take your right leg up high to the sky, three-legged dog. Step it forward, but this time we're going to go right between the hands. And we're going to plant that back left foot, cartwheel the arms open to warrior two. Gaze over the right fingertips. And slowly flip that right palm up, dancing warrior. Reverse warrior. And then take your right forearm all the way down to this right thigh. Extended side angle. Left arm reaches alongside of your left ear, and your gaze can go up. So you can stay here in your extended side angle, or perhaps you drop this right arm off your thigh and try a little arm bind. Try to keep the shoulders stacked. Don't let that left shoulder fold forward too much. Gaze can still go up to the sky. If you took a bind, go ahead and release. Come on up to warrior two. And cartwheel the hands to the mat. Take that connecting vinyasa. If you're feeling strong, you can lower to chaturanga. You can come to cat and cow. It's your practice. Instead of down dog, maybe you take a little child's pose for a moment. Take a couple of breaths wherever you are, either child's pose or down dog. And then we will all make our way to down dog if you're not already there. Take that left leg up high to the sky, three-legged dog. Step it in between the hands, opening up, warrior two. Gazes over your left fingertips. Lower the shoulders away from the ears. And then we'll flip that left palm up, reversing your warrior. Gaze goes up. If you need to feel a little more grounded, sometimes looking back, this right heel is helpful. And then coming into extended side angle. Left forearm to thigh, right arm reaches alongside of the ear. And maybe slipping that lower arm off, binding the arms. So in our attempt to bind the arms, you don't want to dip this right shoulder down. You want to keep it stacked. Or if you need to get the arms bound first and then draw the right shoulder back, you can do that. Nice. All right, release. Come on up to warrior two if you took a bind. And cartwheel the hands to the mat. Take your connecting vinyasa, cat and cow, or chaturanga, up dog, down dog. And we'll all meet in downward facing dog. Root the hips back. Find your breath. Look up to your hands. Step your feet forward. Lengthen the spine up halfway. Exhale to fold. Inhale, root to rise. And palms lower to the heart space. We'll pause here just for a moment. We're going to go through one more vinyasa flow. An option for a back bend. Inhale, reach up, full breath. Exhale, fold over. Let all that breath out. Inhale, come on up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, plant feet back behind you, plank pose. Lower when you're ready, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. From here, we're going to take that right leg up. Start to twist open. So you're going to feel the length here in the side body. You can bend that right knee, getting a stretch in the front of the quad. And an option here to flip your dog to your back bend, wild thing. And then coming back to three-legged dog. We're going to take that knee forward, angle it across your mat for pigeon pose. So you can take this anywhere you want. If you want to continue to work on your back bends, this is a back bend pose when you reach your arms behind your back or up overhead. Perhaps you just want to fold forward and come into sleeping swan. Just letting go here. See if you can smooth the breath out. Very carefully rising up. Tuck the toes under. Bring that right leg back up to the sky, three-legged dog, maybe round the hip out or shake the knee. And bring it down to the mat, full down dog. Now, if you want to bring the knees down and take a little child's pose in between sides, you can certainly do that. Maybe just pause here, getting off the wrists. Allow it back to round. Like we talked about in the beginning of class, this is a counter pose for our back bend. And we'll come up to down dog for the other side. Left leg reaches up high. Begin to twist open. Bend that left knee. You can stay right here in this twist. Or perhaps you start to flip into your back bend, wild thing. Lift the hips. And exhale. Come back. Our leg reaches up to the sky. Maybe shake that knee out, round the hip. And then draw that knee forward. Angle your shin across the mat for pigeon on the other side. And you can experiment here with your back bend, or if your back is had enough, you can come forward and fold. Just letting go. And very slowly make your way back up. Tuck the toes under. Send your left leg up to the sky. Maybe shake that knee out around the hip. And then we're going to just take little baby steps forward. Cross maybe at the ankles, lower down to a seated position. We should be towards the front edges of our mat. Take our feet out in front of us. Hug your knees into your chest. So again, this is our counter stretch, kind of an upright child's pose to all those back bends. See if you can kind of tuck the chin to the chest. And maybe a little trust fall here. If you feel that you're rounded, you can take a nice deep inhale. And on your exhale, just tip on back. Maybe a little rock here, side to side. And then before we come into Shavasana, if you want to take that full happy baby, or maybe a set of twists. And then begin to make your way into Shavasana. Lengthening onto your mat. Lengthening through the crown of the head, maybe wiggling the shoulder blades underneath you. So we'll just spend a little bit of time here in our Shavasana. And I will guide us out in approximately 3 minutes. Very, very slowly start to bring awareness back to your body. If you would like to stay in Shavasana a little bit longer, feel free to do that. You want to start adding movement to your body, wiggling fingers and toes. Go ahead and wiggle fingers, toes, wrists, ankles. Maybe eventually rolling on to one side or the other. Like I said, if you want to stay in Shavasana, you can do that for a few more moments. And then slowly make your way up to a seated position. Feel free to keep your eyes closed, bringing your hands together at the heart space. I'm grateful for each one of you sharing your practice at this early hour with me. The light in me honors that same light in each of you. Namaste.